All right. Hey, how are you?
Fine, thank you, Pastor. How are you too?
Very well. Welcome to another extension. All right, so we can get down to business. You're set?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, so let me introduce my guest. His name is Mr. Bolaji Olagunju. He's the chairman of the Workforce Group, and he will be taking questions on the subject. Well, we know the coronavirus, COVID-19, and the effect it's going to have really on businesses and, well, by projections, and how we can position ourselves rightly to be able to handle this particular season. Now, all my people that listen to me, I don't bring people here except you are capable of answering questions. All right. So you should all be rest assured we have a guru here who I believe will do justice to this. Okay? All right. So you're set, sir?
Yes, I am.
All right. First question. And I took a poll, and I must say this, that, we poll questions on this particular theme, this particular edition. This is the one where we attracted the most questions we ever by a wide margin. So people are really interested in this. Okay. Now, drawing on your wealth of experience as a business owner, an entrepreneur, an advisor that has navigated uncertainties and challenges created by previous economic crises, what are your biggest concerns and fears regarding COVID-19 and its impact on the macro economy, local businesses, and employment in general?
Okay, thank you, Pastor. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I want to say a big thank you for what you do. We appreciate you. We love your interest, the interest that you've taken in businesses and employees as well. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So even though I've gone through a lot, over the course of running my business over the past almost 2 decades now, truth is I haven't seen anything like this in terms of what people have been going through. The magnitude at which we're seeing businesses shut down, even before things have really, really started, in the thick of things. We've not seen this kind of magnitude before. But having said that, there are things I've learned in the past. Having gone through crises myself several times in business, and also as an advisor to businesses that have had to navigate complexity at different points in time in their business life. Okay. So based on my experience, there are 4 trends that I've noticed that if people are not careful, it can make things really, really worse for them. Okay. So I'll be sharing each of the 4 trends. The first one is what I term self-focus. Okay. A lot of people are focusing on themselves primarily. It is typical of human beings to go into survival mode in response to crises such as this. I know that employees are terrified of losing their jobs. Employers are also very, very unjustifiably so terrified of losing their business. However, self-focus is the exact opposite of what we need to be doing right now as business owners. The best way I've learned to get out of crisis, any form of crisis, whether I'm stuck or I'm afraid or I'm in a desperate situation, the best way I know is to focus on serving others. Let me repeat that. The best way out of crisis, whether you're stuck or you're afraid or fearful of losing whatever you have, is to focus on serving others. This is very, very important. For businesses especially, hopefully if you're a business, you exist to solve specific problems for clients. That's the only reason why you exist. So you have target clients and you exist to solve problems for them. Also, I'm willing to bet that employees were hired also to help the company solve problems. Guess what? Businesses now are going through a period where they are facing the biggest problem that they've ever faced in their entire life. Meaning they need people that can come up and solve those problems for them. So rather than entrepreneurs, struggling with worrying about themselves, this is the time to truly settle down and look at, okay, how can I help my clients or the people I'm serving, make the most of this crisis and get themselves out. How do I contribute? One of the questions that entrepreneurs need to be asking right now is this: what can I do to help my clients succeed post COVID-19 as a result of the business that they're doing with me? That's the question we should be asking. So we need to step back and focus less on ourselves and then look at possibility of helping our clients negotiate this. I think that's very, very important. The second trend I'm seeing is the unhealthy division I'm seeing between employees and business owners. So I'm seeing a lot online, a lot of conversation going on about how employees are going to lose their job and whether it's fair and how they should be considering legal options and all that. And I'm worried. This is perplexing because at this time, it is more important for employees and employers to come together and team up to solve problems, to see how they can get themselves out of this. We shouldn't be overly focused. In fact, people are deliberately creating divide. Some lawyers are posting some things how they can fight the employer. We've not even reached there yet. People are already, causing trouble. I think more than ever, if we continue doing that, it's recipe for disaster. More than ever, employees and employers need to come together now. There is a popular belief that employees will be worse off post COVID-19, and that's simply not true. Business owners are much more traumatized. The few I've spoken to have so much to lose is unbelievable. Some of them have mortgaged everything to start their business. Some of them are at risk of losing everything, including even the roof over their head. The number of them that are not sleeping well now with high blood pressure is so high. And yet it seems to be all about employee.
Okay.
The third trend I'm seeing is the rise of what I call experts, the rise of experts advising small and medium-sized business. I've seen a huge rise of in experts claiming to have advice for businesses, and most of them are offering advices that are lacking in context in two ways. The first is most of the advice are geared towards big organizations that are very well established and have capacity to withstand a lot of complexity and difficulty. The other advice I'm seeing is a situation where people are advising people based on international best practices. Our context in Nigeria is very different, and what business owners are going through is significantly different than what most of the advice I'm seeing out there. Some of the people given advice have not run a fruit stand successfully before, yet they're experts at advising business owners. I think it's unfair. Truth is, there are no easy answers, and we cannot adopt a one-size-fits-all approach to at a crucial point like this. Business owners should be careful the kind of advice they're taking, and they should be designing enough for themselves to know that, look, this person have been there, he's done that, I can listen to him, but at the end of the day, they need to be very, very careful. I've seen that. And then finally, everybody is negative. People can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. People are approaching this as if there's no, it's not all negative and doom. Okay, there's still a lot of opportunities that we're seeing in this crisis. And the truth is, some businesses will thrive, while some will struggle, guaranteed. Some employees will be retained, some will even be promoted and recruited, while some will be laid off. It will happen. But our biggest responsibility now is to do whatever we can within our control to learn as much as we can to increase our probability of success. Focusing excessively on negativity will only complicate the issue. We need to also know that there's a client of mine that is into medical supplies. Our business has gone up by 1,000% in the last 2 weeks alone, with so much opportunities, and they're just seeing more and more demand in the same context of everything is bad. So it's important to remain negative, to remain positive, avoid negativity as much as possible. And back to my first point, focus on serving your customers more at this point. So those are the 4 trends that I'm significantly worried about. I believe if employers and employees change their mindset about that, things will improve significantly.
All right, okay. The second question we're going to take is, what's your advice for employees and businesses on how best to think and act in preparation for post-COVID-19's possible consequences? So advice on how best to think and act in preparation for that.
Okay. There are 3 critical factors that I believe would determine how individuals and businesses fare post-COVID-19, all things being equal, okay? The first factor is the demand for what you do. The demand for what you do will matter a lot. I have a client that own an event center, and we had an interesting conversation last week. His rent is due in April. He leased the place for, I think, 4 years, so it's due in April, and the landlord wants him to come and renew the rent for another 4 years. So the question is, what does he do? Okay, we don't know what will happen post COVID-19. We will be able to hold events the way we've always done it, So, and yet, in the same instance, some other people's businesses are booming. So the demand for what you do is a critical factor. Number 2 is how well you do it, okay? Whatever you do, if there's a demand for it, then the question will now be, how good are you? Are you the best, at doing it? That's very important. The third one is the difficulty of replacing you. Let me explain each one, Pastor. The first factor, the demand for what you do, I would term indispensability index. How indispensable are you to either businesses or your organization if you're an employee? Your independability index is the extent to which your company or your customer cannot do without you or your services, or the degree to which you are in such a high demand, there's little or no viable substitute for what you offer. That's going to be very important. So if you look at indispensability on a scale of 1 to 10, to make it simple, if you're an employee, if your company has 10 employees, what number will you be if they decide that they want to pick people that will retain? How will you rate yourself over the 10 employees? So if they decide that, okay, we're retaining 9 people, will you be among those 9? If they say it's 5, will you be among those 5? If they say it's 2, will you be among the first 2? Or if they say, okay, we can only retain 1 person, will you be there? Or same thing applies to business. As a business, what's your indispensability index? If your clients have 10 services providers for a particular service that you're offering and you're one of them, and they decide that, look, we're going to rank this services provider and we're going to pick a few, what number are you going to be, on that matrix? Is very important. Individuals and businesses can and should take deliberate action to increase their probability of success by ensuring that they are very relevant at this period to either the employees to their organization and then businesses to their customer. A very important thing to note, however, is this: when you're evaluating your indispensability index, it's important to know that how valuable you are pre-COVID-19 and how valuable you are post-COVID-19 might be 2 different things, okay? Because again, the landscape has changed. That's why it's important to be as close to customer as possible now, to have an understanding of how they're thinking, what they're worrying about, where they're going, so that you can position your business properly. So the demand for what you do will make a lot of difference. Number 2, the second factor is how well you do what you do, which we refer to as your employability index. How employable are you? For an organization, is your capability index. How capable are you? What do you have as an organization that can help you acquire the right to win in the marketplace? How exceptional are you? Are you the best at what you do? For individuals, this means that if your current job is no longer viable, but your employability index is very, very high, you will have no problem getting another job if you're extremely employable. For businesses, it means if your customer have to choose between multiple providers, you will be their provider of choice because you're so good at what you do that they can't ignore you. So again, on a scale of 1 to 10, employees need to, again, plot their employability index to say, okay, if 1 is I'm practically unemployable, and 10 is I am so employable that I will easily get a job, where will you put yourself? And it's important that you're honest, because the first thing to do is diagnose where you are, and then you can now start making improvements after that. Okay, so it's very, very important to look at your employability index as an employee, and then your capability index as an organization. If you're offering services and you're struggling with it, and you're not really good, there are a lot of mistakes, errors, and clients are complaining, it will be a lot tougher for you post-COVID-19, because people will be a lot more conscious about the kind of what they're investing in and what they're buying. The third factor is your ownership or entrepreneurial index. Okay, ownership is crucial. In fact, one of the things we're seeing now is some CEOs already know the people that are staying and the people that are going, and most of their decision will be based on who has taken ownership, who is running their business as though it's theirs. It's going to be very, very important. So what's your entrepreneurship what's your ownership or entrepreneurship index? Contrary to popular belief, everybody in a business can be replaced. Every single person in a business, including the business owner. Okay, as a business owner, your customer can fire you anytime they like. And unlike employee, who can resort to legal means to try and get something out of that relationship, as a business owner, your options are limited. If your customer fire you, you're out of the game. And by the way, getting a job for a business owner is not the easiest thing. So it's important that as a business owner, your readiness to pivot and change your business model or start another one is also important. If you find yourself in a business scenario where you know that post-COVID-19 is going to be challenging, you need to start thinking, what's your plan B? What's your plan B? You know, and for an employee, the more employable you are, you know, the better, you know, your opportunities in the market, you know. And if push comes to shove, you decide as an employee that you don't want to work, then the option of taking up, you know, starting a business or becoming a freelancer now becomes very, very important. So for me, those 3 factors are very important. The demand for what you do, how well you're able to do it, are you the best at it? And then how easy is it to replace you? Because if you're easily replaceable, then the value you bring to the table is significantly questionable, you know. So employers should rate themselves on the 3 indices, and the employee too should rate themselves on the 3 indices and confront the reality of where they are, so that they can now start the process of, you know, closing whatever gap exists going forward.
Okay. All right. So this question will, over your answer, this next question should be a continuation of it. So if you're an employee, what specific concrete steps will you be taking right now to increase your own chances, all right, post COVID-19, which means what are the steps you'll be taking right now to increase your chances?
Okay. For employees, I have 5 suggestions. So if I'm an employee, I will evaluate and work on increasing the demand for what I do. You know, that's my indispensability index. To do this, I will invest disproportionate amount of time in identifying and solving problems faced by my company or its customer. I want to see how I can truly add value, you know, to the scenario that is going on. It's obvious what everybody is grappling with. Sometimes it's difficult to identify problems that you can solve. This time around is obvious. People just want to make sure that their position is better off post COVID-19. So how are you going to solve them? So I will evaluate and work on increasing the demand for what I do. Number two, I will hedge my risk by working to increase my employability index. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm a lot more employable by improving my skills. I'll identify the critical competencies required for success in my industry or my area of focus, my area of specialty, assess myself to know what gaps I have, then invest in acquiring those critical competencies as quickly as possible. We understand that they've given us 2 weeks now. It's good time to make very good use of the time you have. Number three, I will start considering options available to me with respect to starting my own gig, becoming a freelancer, and in that regard, I'll be considering looking for coaches or mentor, learning everything I can in starting a business and becoming a freelancer. The world of freelancer has really opened up, and a lot of Nigerians are doing very well as freelancers, especially in the area of digital marketing. We've seen so many people doing very well in digital marketing. Number four, this is a bit controversial. I will offer to take a pay cut or defer my salary until things improve for my business as an employee. I won't wait to be told. I'll offer because I can see the trend. I can see pattern. I see that, look, my business won't be able to pay anyway, and it will be required of me in any way, or I might even lose my job. But if you take that position with an employer, you first and foremost demonstrate that we're truly in it together, and that is a game changer from an employer's point of view. Right now, everybody is waiting, gauging themselves, who will make the first move. I will go ahead and say, look, I can see where the business is going. I'm really committed to this. I'm willing to take a pay cut or defer my salary until things improve. What can we do? How can we get out of this? That can be game changing. Number five, I will conserve resources and only spend on very, very essential items, okay? And maybe my self-development. I will hold on to cash as much as possible. In situations like this, having cash makes a lot of difference. This is not the time to be buying things that you don't really need at the end of the day. Hold cash, spend carefully, and then ensure that you do not overtrade for any reason whatsoever. This might be on for a while. It might go on for a while. So that's my advice for employees, 5 of them.
Okay, so then we'll now go to the business owner here. So as a business owner yourself, what steps will you recommend that other business owners take to increase their own chances of success now?
Okay. For business owners, they're my best friends. I have interesting relationships. Business owners, I have 7 suggestions. 7. The first one is I will confront my brutal realities, both internal and external, and determine the true position of my business. Business owners find it very difficult to do this. There's a river in Egypt called River Denial. Business owners swim in it a lot. They are always in self-denial. The sheer capacity of the business owner to delude themselves is perplexing. So self-delusion is not the best thing to have now as a business owner. Your ability to confront your brutal realities and identify the true situation of your business is going to make a lot of difference. So it doesn't work that way. So the first thing is confront my business reality and know where I am for real. I first want to know that. Then the next thing, number 2, very important, is I will diligently obey the law of all. okay, HOLE, which state that when you're in a hole, stop digging. Business owners don't listen. They don't understand that when you're in a hole, stop digging. Because if you're in a hole and you keep digging, chances of you coming out is limited, because it will now be much more difficult out. So you need to ensure that you don't dig yourself further. There was a WhatsApp chat that I saw where somebody was suggesting that small business owners should go and borrow money to pay salaries, which was strange to me, basically, because what it implies is, so if you borrow money this month to pay salary, by next month you now have two problems. Okay, the loan that you borrowed and then the salary that you have to pay, So stop digging if you're in a hole. Okay. Number 3, I will invest disproportionate amount of effort, time, and money in identifying and solving the biggest problem facing my target clients. Okay, because at the end of the day, that's what is going to create the future. Basically, my ability to solve my client's problem. So I will invest a lot of time and effort in that. Number 4, I will shrink to grow. I will shrink the business to grow. I will first and foremost shrink my ego. I know one of the major reasons businesses fail is because of the egos of the business owner. Having a big office or a large number of staff is not an indication of success. We like to brag about it. It makes us feel good, but it's actually a vanity metric that is killing a lot of businesses. It can quickly become a liability. So I will streamline all my company activities and focus on our core or on our biggest opportunity. I know one thing for a fact. I've been there before. I've done it over and over again. I know it's difficult, but companies do not die of malnutrition, doing too little. Companies die of indigestion, doing too much. Most companies, the research has proven it. Companies have a way of overtrading and doing beyond their capacity. If resources are not limited, then you can pursue so many opportunities. But with finite resource, which is the era where we're going, it is important that you streamline your business and focus on where you can win. That's what I would do. Number 5. Number 5 is tricky, but this is what I'll do. I will identify my wealth-creating employees. All employees are nice. They are, good members of their family. They are good members of churches. They are great people, but they create value at different levels. So I will identify my wealth-creating employees, 20% that creates the 80% of our results, and I will offer them share options or stake in the business in order to be able to keep them. I will, because where we are right now, you want to hold on to your best people, because how do you get out of a situation like this if you allow your best people to go? If you can't pay them, then offer. If it's true that you want to keep them, then incentivize them, give them options, give them options, shares, and require them to take significant pay cuts so that we know that we are all in it together, and then we can go on. I think I would do that as a business, whatever, at this stage in time, but a lot of business owner will struggle with that. But I'd rather have 10%, of a big business than 0% of nothing. So, it's your choice, basically. Okay. Number 6, I will work extensively on transforming my business, to a digital business or technology-enabled business model. That's the future of businesses. Something interesting happened when church started, beaming, streaming services, where you go to one service, pastor is in another. A couple of people started following pastor all over the place. So they said, okay, why is he preaching live today? Basically, because it's difficult for people to adapt to change. It's almost as if you saw this coming and you already did that. But every business is a digital business. The future of business is digital. Most of the business that will struggle post-COVID-19 are locational specific business where people must come to you before you make business. It's going to be difficult, so every business is a digital business. If your business is not digitally enabled, you need to start thinking of either leaving that business and transitioning to another business, or investing in a startup that is already digitally enabled that you can, that can help pull your business up or even think of mergers and acquisition. But it is non-negotiable. Your business must be technology enabled as much as possible, and then that's really, really key. And then number 7, which is important, I will become a student and get a coach, mentor, advisor that can help me accelerate my progress. At this point in time, going at it alone is a bit tough. You need sounding board. Even if it's peer entrepreneurs that you can come together and share ideas, as long as you guys are not competing, it's a powerful way. Whatever you do, don't try going this alone. Again, that's why sessions like this are very powerful, so that people can hear how other people are dealing, with their own issues, and then take inspiration from there. Somebody said the biggest value you can add to another human being is the gift of inspiration, and that's what we all need. So I will go out of my way to make sure that I'm connected with a circle of people that, right thinking, great ideas that will help enrich me, and I also can add value to them, and then we can weather this storm together. So those are my advice for business owners.
Fantastic. Powerful. All right. From your experience bank, please take us into the mind of a typical, now this is one of the most crucial questions in this, all right, because a lot of people want to know this. Now, so from your experience bank, please take us into the mind of a typical business owner or executive management of a growing concern. How do you achieve the delicate balancing act of taking future decisions, some of which will be hard ones, such as selecting who stays, who goes, if it gets to that, emotional intelligence and empathy versus the need to ensure business continuity and satisfy the investors and stakeholders? Yeah. So it's almost like how will you be ruthless in a nice way?
Whoever came up with this question is really trying to tell me yourself. Okay. As a business owner, the truth is, I already know people who are staying and people who are likely to go under the different scenarios. So we've done our scenario planning. If business reduces to this level, these people are going to go. If business gets to this level, these people are going to go. So a lot of business owners have a pretty good idea of who is going to stay and who is going to go. For example, there are some employees that are fond of saying the business is not their father's business. They will likely be the first to go so that they can go and work for their dad. That's the first thing. Basically, the earlier they go, the better. So they can go and work for daddy, in daddy's business. There are also ones that normally think, I can't kill myself while they're working. I will quickly save their life because I don't want to be accused of killing anybody. So they too, they'll follow, It's a really tough period of time, and this is the time. Look, running a business in a period like this is like climbing a mountain. For people that are into mountain climbing, they'll tell you that who you have around you determine whether you survive or not. It's a matter of life and death, who you have around you. So for a period like this, employer will look for people they can depend on. They will look for people that are taking ownership, that run the business, like their own. They will look for people that are self-driven, people that they don't need to be chasing all over the place. Have you done this? Where they are following up on. They'll look for people that get things done. Execution is going to be very, very important. Can I put something on your plate, and go to sleep knowing that it will be done, and not just done to the level of quality that is expected, and that is acceptable. It's going to be very, very important. For an employer, it's also important to have dialogue with their people, basically. The truth of the matter is most employees know where they are. Hardly, an employee shouldn't be surprised when you're firing them, okay? And most employees know where they are. Where do not is important for the employer to be fair, and that this is where emotional intelligence comes in, and to let people know exactly what is going on and to be very open about it. There's several options, open to employer of labor, basically. There are some people's salary that might be cut. There's a company now, they called everybody and they said, look, we have two options: layoff or cut salary. Which option will you guys go for? And people chose to take pay cuts because they're a fantastic team and they wanted to keep everybody together, you know. So that's another option in terms of what deciding on who will stay, whatever. But this is not the time to carry dead weight. You know, when you're going to war, you need warriors. And right now, employers need to make sure that they're not carrying people that will weigh them down at this particular point in time. You know, one of the best way to also know for the people that they don't want to let go because they're not sure, you can offer for them to work on commission basis and also get their response. So there are different options that people will engage with. But whatever you do, make sure you do it fairly. We're bound by employment contracts, so you must fulfill, you know, all the components of the contract. Is the right thing to do. You must also give them soft landing, make it easier for people to when you're letting them go, don't be mean about it. I cannot overemphasize that. You have to be responsible in your approach. But truth is, you will have to do it. You know, very important. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now, this is an interesting question someone sent, and the person says, feedback from a lot of people, especially in the corporate private sector, is that they are working more than when the offices were open. As they seem to be doing more effective work than when they used to go to the offices. This suggests a more efficient work environment devoid of the drama of physical meetings, social interactions in physical office environments. So what's your opinion? If people seem to be more productive in this digital arrangement, is this what we are looking at for the future?
Wow, I don't agree. In my humble opinion, I think it's too early, you know, to start judging whether the work from home will work for us in this part of the world. I know it's been on in Nigeria for quite a while. Multinationals and bigger organizations have been able to do it successfully. I worked for media. Whether I'm working more or not, you know, is really the result that is being produced. So I asked people over the last 2 weeks that, okay, you've been doing work from home. What tangible results have you been able to deliver? And people are struggling to pinpoint what exactly, you know, have been done. Some people can point to some things. Some even completely forgot to include the customer management process in their work from home, you know, process altogether. Yeah. So I said, okay, so you guys are having meetings discussing what about the customer, you know, and they're like, okay, so they've not factored in the customer process. So for me, you know, it's still early days. It can work. I mean, the potential is huge. In fact, if you can pull it off, but there's so much that we need to contend with, you know. Some of the things we need to contend with: one, immunity to change. You know, we're already used to, I mean, some organizations some people have been working for 10, 12, 15, 20 years, working out of the office. So making the transition to working from home is going to require some change in orientation, change in culture, and that will take some time, believe you me. Once the stay at home, once the lockdown order is removed, you see everybody hurrying, you know, to their office. People are just want to go back and all that. And then don't forget that a lot of investment have been made already in offices, in capacity. You can't downsize easily. I mean, rents will probably run. So those are some of the things that people need to deal with. Our work culture in this environment is not the best that I've seen so far. I have a friend in UK. He's been working for a company for 3 years. He only saw his boss once, the day he collected his laptop and his phone. And he's been working for 3 years. But here, we have a culture where people don't get things done until you're standing over their neck, especially for small businesses like us. I don't know how big businesses do it. You have to use torchlight to be chasing people up and down. What are you doing? When are you going to deliver this and all that? These same people are now going to be required to work from home. You know, that culture, it will take a long time to train them on what effective work from home actually is. Then there are the infrastructure, both in terms of technology, internet, you know, computing power and all that. We've had so many issues, you know, in the last 2 weeks of meetings starting and not being able to complete, and then we spend so much time waiting for somebody to be able to connect. You know, it's disruptive. It will get better. Internet is definitely going to get better. The infrastructure will get better, but we're not there yet. There's also employees' readiness, you know, for work from home. Last week, a client told me that they had a war from home, not work, war, W-A-R. Apparently, one of the staff was forgot to turn off the microphone, and they had, you know, something akin to domestic violence, you know, in the background. And it was really, people were really embarrassed and all that, because look, the person probably stay in a 2-bedroom apartment, there's no studying, whatever, and you know, so there are a lot of those issues that people still need to address. You know, are employees ready, and then how do we support them in getting ready? Then there's the whole issue of work design and management. Work has to be redesigned for a work from home setting. Is so crucial. We can't take what we're doing and just flip on a switch and then transition to work from home. It's not going to work. So we need to redesign work, reassign work, you know, decide how work will be managed, and especially results. You know, in our organization, we don't measure activities, we measure results. There's nothing you can, is about results. We're so focused on results. So what we're studying now is, how do we track results? You know, how do we put deliverables on people's decks and then follow through? And then we find out that 50% of our business are just not ready for work from home. They're not, and whatever, they need to be physically in front of customers and do certain things. So how do we manage that? So it's going to be an hybrid approach, and then that also have a lot of implication. Then the integration of the customer management process into this equation is very, very key. If you're working from home and your customer management process has not been integrated into your rhythm, you know, your process for working from home, then it's a lot of for me, how is that work? If I'm not serving customer, then why exactly am I in business? So that's, for me, is also a key thing. So it's still early days. I know a lot of people are getting excited about it, but is a new trend, is a new fad. People will get whatever, you know, but a lot of people will also get their fingers burnt if they don't approach this, you know, in a structured, you know, process-oriented manner, you know, and all that, so that they can drive their success going forward.
Okay. All right. This question is related somewhat to that. So it says, client-facing functions typically, traditionally require face-to-face engagement. Yes. Will technology be an adequate replacement for building relationships that make customers stickier, which means, will technology be?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, we've seen exciting things that companies have done in pushing the envelope in the area of leveraging technology to service clients at scale. And that's what technology does. You know, there are companies that are called born on the web organization. They've never known life as a physical structure. They've always been, you know, on the web, basically. And they've invested disproportionately in building algorithms, you know, tools like bots and all that, AI, machine learning, using them to actually serve customer better and manage the process. Amazon is phenomenal in that, but there are a lot of banks in Nigeria that have also started doing that a lot. So definitely that's a strong possibility. What we need to do is learn and adapt it to our own reality as business owners. Okay, how are people doing this? What can we take, you know, which is more suited to our business? And then to understand that it is a marathon, not a short distance race. You know, you can't just jump into it. So you exercise caution. There's a need for a lot of experimentation to say, okay, let me move a percentage of my clients. How do they want me to interact with them? Does this work for them? Before you rush into it. So lots of things are being done in that area. It is possible. We're exploring a lot, even in our organization, that how do we automate most of our customer interaction process, and we're pushing the envelope in that area as well. And we're learning from the best. We're looking at what has other people done, and then how can we benchmark and do the same. So we're not reinventing the wheel in that regard at all.
Okay. As we come to a close, let me just ask, I think we have 2 more questions. What are the top 5 HR concerns that organizations, whether they are big or small, should focus on post-COVID-19?
Wow. For HR, the HR function is going to be even more important than ever, post-COVID-19, because a lot of things will be dropped on their lap, and they will be required to take leadership and step up to the plate. One of the biggest things HR needs to help organizations manage is change management, because a lot is going to happen that will require people to change in fundamental ways. The old way of doing things will not work. It's clear, So change management, how do you help people work from home, for example? Change management, if all your colleagues have been let go, how do we keep you staying and to still be able to focus, and all that? And the organization will also need to look at changing their business model, if they want to go digital, there's a lot, okay? So change management is the number 1 for me. Number 2 is the right people. A business is nothing without the right people. That's the truth. So the more HR can enable an organization hire and retain the right people, the more the organization can win. That's very, very important. Number 3 for me is performance management. I think performance management will make a lot of difference, especially if people are going to be working from home. And one of the things we're looking at is currently in the old dispensation, most companies just simply pay for performance. That's where people will say they work for 4 days. I'm not paying you for 4 days. I'm paying you for deliverables. So organizations need to start paying for results. So there's a new term emerging that we're seeing called ROWE, result only work engagement. So how can an organization implement result only work engagement? So whether you come to the office is not the issue. I've given you, a deliverables. We've set, the target, the KPIs. We know exactly what it should be. And this is the timeline. Deliver it, and then we're fine. I think we'll see more of that, especially with the work from home, whatever, because the biggest issue with work from home is trust. Ask a typical business owner, you say, am I sure they're working? Okay, am I sure they are working on my business? So once performance management is clear, then it will go a long way. Number 4, leadership. There's a saying that the bottleneck is at the top of the bottle. So look at any bottle, the bottleneck is at the top. So leadership is going to make a lot of difference. How do you lead people in crisis? How do you help people cope with complexity? Manage change and all that. So effective leadership across the organization, is going to be essential to success. The 5th for me will be the learning agility of the organization, the ability of the company to learn at the speed of thought, to learn quickly, will be very, very important, So HR will have a lot to do, but this will be my own top 5, area of focus. HR needs to focus on.
All right, we'll take one more question, and it will be this. What specific skills and competencies do you see employers looking for in high demand post-COVID-19? Which means, what do you think they are going to be looking for?
Okay. So, and it has already happened. It's already happening now. A few CEOs I've spoken to in the last 2 weeks are now desperately looking for problem solvers. People that have strong problem solving acumen, skills. A CEO called me and he said that he's struggling because he can't talk to his people, that they don't get it. They don't even understand the urgency of the situation, the context of the organization, that is struggling, you know, to talk to them. So ability to solve problem is going to be essential going forward because the world is full of problems right now. So that's going to be critical. I'm looking for. So if you know anybody, you know, because it's so critical. The second is technology skill. I mean, without doubt, you know, technology is, they say software is eating the world. That's what they say. Technology has taken over everything. You know, we can see companies that their stock price are going up at technology company and all that. And those skills are going to be even much more important. In December, we lost our CTO to a company in Holland who came, and when I saw the offer they made to him, I was wondering, are you sure I shouldn't be the one applying for this job? You know, so a lot of people are coming into the country to take our tech talent because that's where the world is going. That's critical. The third skill is digital skills. Okay, so ability to work in a digital environment is going to be very, very important. You know, use social media, use file sharing, you know, even all these tools like Asana, Trello, and all the ability to, you know, work effectively, which is more suited to younger generation, is also very, very crucial. Number 4 for me is selling skills. I'm a salesman. You know, selling will always be very important, whether we're selling online or offline. Selling is going to be key, and it's even going to be more important because organizations will need to survive, and businesses succeed because of high sales. Businesses fail because of low sales. Every other thing is complementary. You just have to sell. So selling skills is going to be important. Marketing skills is also going to be important. People need to get their messaging out. There'll be everybody trying to sell, you know, whatever. So whoever can stand out with respect to marketing, capture people's imagination, you know, entertain people. Marketing won't just be like whatever. There's a lot of education, but people also want to be entertained. So ability to, and then people want to be inspired, you know, marketing know how to do that. That's key. In terms of behavioral skills, self-drive is, look, we did an analysis and we found out that who is likely to succeed in our organization and who is likely to struggle. People that are self-driven is essential. You know, Jim Collins said, once you hire somebody and you find out that you need to motivate or drive them to do anything, you've already made the wrong hiring decision. People shouldn't need to be driven. You know, people should come with the best drive is innate. You know, where by yourself you want to be the best. You know, I can't put that in you. You have to come with that. You know, and that's going to be very, very essential. So once you have people that you are driving, you drive them till you're tired. You know, and then you burn out. So self-drive is very key. Number 7, ownership mindset. Look, ability to take other people's business and run it as your own is so powerful that I doubt if you can own your own business if you don't have that mindset. How will you do it? So ownership mindset is critical. Clients will pay anything for people that take their business like their home because that's the only way. 8, writing skills, which is a major gap in this country, you know, is going to be very important. How do you position your messages, especially online, if you can write effectively? Leadership skill, I've talked about the ability to lead people and get better results from them than you will ordinarily do. And then number 10, technical skills. So in your core area, you know, the technical skills that are critical to your core. If you're an engineer, your core, latest, cutting edge technical capabilities are also going to be very, very important. Yeah. So those are my top 10.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sure I can almost feel people's notes and you know, but anytime it hangs, I hear my wife shouts upstairs that wow. So I'm sure people read it. Thank you very much, Mr. Olagunju, for this.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. And thanks for what you do. We appreciate you. We appreciate you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you. I'm sure people have, folks that were on this place, let me have your feedback concerning this. Let me have your feedback. I mean, I was getting WhatsApp messages as this was going on. All right.
Thank you, Pastor.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.